that's what you want to do. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Right, Rob, well, we're out catching up with you guys today. Do you want to start off with where we are and what you've got here?
Right, yeah, so we are in the middle of Shropshire, Bridgnorth, Shropshire area. We've got approximately 600 or 700 acres here, renting a bit extra as well. We're mixed arable, so we haven't got sheep, but we keep a lot of beef.
Yeah.
Suckler herd, about 60 or 70 suckler herd,
Yeah.
and followers, etc. We have about 500 or 600 acres, 500 acres here at home, arable, and then a bit away. Keeps us busy.
Tell us a bit about the background of the farm then, Rob, and how it all started.
Right, so back in just after the Second World War, my granddad took on a small part down the road, a couple hundred acres. We've grown and grown and grown that over the years. We were farming just over 1,000 acres at one point. I'm now third generation here. My son is just coming into farming now, so he's fourth generation. He's been at Harpradham's studying ag over there. We grew the farm, let's say we grew it to just over 1,000 acres, and then a few years back my dad and my uncle split the farms up, and we've sort of took it on from there and took our own business on from there really. So we run about 200 to 250 cattle, give or take, you know, take them, sucklers, take them all the way through to fattening. We've got a nice market at Bridgnorth, which we take into there and take all our fatted stock into there. Yeah. We buy off local farms as well. One of the sidelines we got is I sell a lot of corn, a lot of feed, animal feeds, farm to farm. That I think we've moved in excess of 1,200 tonne this year, I think, farm to farm, as well as what we're using as well. So I buy a lot of that stuff in as well. So that's other things we do. But yeah, arable mainly. Do a bit of contract spraying occasionally. A few odds and sods, you know. But mainly our farming area, it's a farming base, not a contracting base. We are.
So we're doing a bit of filming out with you today, so what have we been on, what have we been doing?
So today we've been doing, we've done all our spring planting. We've planted about 100 acres of spring planting so far this year. But there's a shoot in the area here, so we're on the edge of the Monkopton Sporting Estate. So we've been planting some game maize for them today. We're putting about 25 acres of game maize in. So we've been doing little patches today. So we've been loosening the soil up, subsoiling it, getting it ready for planting, and later on this week we'll plant it. Normally maize would be in and up by now, but we plant it later so it ripens later. Otherwise, come November time, October, November time, it ripens too much. First we get a lot of wind and it's all on the floor. So we do it later for that, and then it holds the birds better into the winter. It gives them a lot more cover and a lot more feed. We do it, and we'll work it, spray it, fertilise it, if I can afford to fertilise it this year, obviously. I was lucky with my fertiliser this year. I did actually buy quite a bit of fertiliser early. So, yeah, so I did sit with a bit of a smug grin for a while until I got my fuel bill, and then it wasn't so smug after that. But,
yeah, that's been the problem for most people this time, I think.
Yeah, it's scary.
So we've seen that yellow beast stood there behind you. We've seen that working today. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we bought that. We've had it probably most of 10 years now. Bought it off a neighbour, borrowed it one day to do a bit of odd jobs with it, and I took it back and I cleaned it all nicely before I took it back, and he said, "Oh, thank you for doing that. It'd be better for when I sell it." So I was like, we worked out what he wanted for it, and I turned around and drove it home again. So yeah, we've had that for a bit. We do a lot of mole ploughing, subsoiling. We normally put the subsoiler on that's been on the back of the class today. We normally put that on the back of it. Initially bought it as a bit of a collector's item. So it is a 1995, I think, 95 or 96, but it's one of the early ones, and it's an American import. So they're made out in Winnipeg, I could be wrong. They're made out in North America, and that was one of the early ones that was brought in. So it's only got 5,200 hours on from new. So we do very little with it. We do odds and sods with it.
It sure makes some noise.
It does make a growl, yeah. It sounds really great to start with. There's a little side window you open on it, and it sounds really great for about 20 minutes until it gives you a headache. But yeah, it's lovely to drive. Hateful on a hard surface because it's an early one. There's no giving any of the tracks or anything, so it's a bit rough. The one I'm leaning on here, we've only recently bought this. I swapped a Fiat 140 winner, which I know somebody or people will cry at. We had a Fiat 140 winner, which we'd had in 95 from new, done 10,000 hours. So good tractor, but I wasn't fitting all the machinery, like it wouldn't have put that on the back of it today.
Yeah.
So we bought this in the winter. I run an 830 C-Matics class again, which is all GPS'd up. We do a lot of drilling and working down potentially with that, you know, because it's decent horsepower. I've got a New Holland 7200, which I think was on the roller mill at the moment. We've got either set of flotations or row crops for that, and that does most jobs as well. That's all GPS'd up, or RTX GPS'd up, I think that is. So we do drilling. So I run 2 drills as well. We've got a 4-metre Verdestat and a 3-metre Amazon combination. So the two work really well together. So if it's good going, we rip ground up with all the some of the machine we've seen today, and then we go in. You know, we can do 100 acres a day with the Verdestat, or if you're just doing odds and sods like we will be doing these planting bits, we put the 3-metre combination on, which is in the shed behind there. So I've got a Howsam AR 3600 sprayer, which again is GPS'd up. I'm a big fan of GPS these days now. We were one of the first ones to have it. We had it in 2006 on a class demonstrator, and once we realised just how much money can be saved. I mean, I know everybody tells you that you go to the sales spiel and they go, oh, you can save money. Good idea. And then you actually work it out yourself. And when we did, you know, certainly with a sprayer, you work out how much smaller the fields are with the GPS section control. And then you work out how much it's costing per hectare on fuel, time, sprays, fertilisers, etc., etc. The GPS systems we had in the 3 tractors certainly paid for themselves in, I'd say, 18 months, if not 2 years. Just swapping my sprayer again this year, hopefully. I was talking to Howsam again the other day, and I'm going to go for exactly the same model again with GPS again, because it's, like I say, the money savings is brilliant with it. So, which is where a lot of the farming is going these days, I think.
So tractor-wise, you're starting to lean more towards the lime greens sort of thing?
Yeah, I love the class. Big fan of the class. I run quite a lot of class equipment. We've got the 2 tractors. I've got a baler. We did have a mower. I've got a Lexion 760 Montana combine as well. Morris Caulfield's the dealer, are only just down the road. We've dealt with them since before I was born, and we've always had a really good relationship with them. If I want something, generally they'll put themselves out to come and help, which they do with a lot of people. But they are very good with us, yeah. So that was one of the reasons we had this. This was basically bought as a bit of a spare tractor to do summer jobs. You know, we were always short of a machine in the summer, so I bought this one this year with 6,000 hours on the clock, just as a backup tractor, and it's going most weeks. We're doing something with it. We've already done quite a bit with it already, so it's been useful. The other tractor we've got is a C-Matic, which is a variable drive one. That's quite economical because it only uses the power it needs to. So you set your speed and it just eases back, which is good. But they're saying that these are really frugal on fuel as well. This uses very little fuel. I bet this doing the same job probably uses half the fuel of the Caterpillar. So coming up next, we've got, after we've done all this planting, we're going to be looking towards silaging probably, which is seems to be everybody's favourite time of year. I know when I was a kid, I used to love silaging. It was one of the things that really got me into farming. I used to love all the action that went with it. They used to pay me 50p a day to sit on the tractor and jump out and put the pipe in on the trailers, and I thought I was an absolute hero for doing that. Now I have to get off and do it myself, and I don't get paid 50p a day for that. So,
well, that's an extra 50p.
That's an extra 50p a day, yeah. Yeah. So we're coming up to silaging time. We run our own we've got a small chopper, a little New Holland chopper. We run that. We've got a couple of old trailers. Nothing too fancy, but we got a silage pit over there. We do about 350 tonne of silage a year, which is just enough to keep our cows. Say the 60 or 70 sucklers we got, depending on, and the followers as well. We just have enough to do all those.
Well, just something a bit different, Rob. I was looking at that machine round in the yard this morning. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Oh, the rape swather.
Yeah.
Yes. Shelbourne Reynolds. That is a 1990. yeah, 1992, I think. Shelbourne Reynolds Rape Swather. We used to run 3 of them back about sort of 25, 30 years ago. We used to do about 2,000 acres of swathing, and that's the one that just got left behind because it was just a useful one. We used to do, it's a 14-foot machine, and it's nicknamed the shopping trolley, because when you sit in it, it's a bit like the Caterpillar. When you sit in it and turn the steering wheel, that wheel goes backwards and that wheel goes forward, and you just turn on the spot, which is very, very scary to drive on the road, but incredibly fun to drive in the field. Because when you want to turn around, you just turn the steering wheel and you go, whoop, and then you're off again. It's brilliant. Yeah. We will try and get some pictures of that when later on. But,
oh yeah, definitely.
But obviously the rape, we're another 6 or 7 weeks from rape swathing at the moment. Pros and cons of rape swathing. You do it before spraying. When you swath it, obviously the day you swath it is the day it dies. So you can't do it when if it's shattering, but you put it in a row, you stick it in a row, you leave it about 10 days and then you combine it, hopefully. 10 to 14 days, depending on the weather, obviously. It combines very easy. The eastern counties, Eastern England and what have you, they do lots of rape swathing. We've done it for as long as I can remember, really, we've done rape swathing. And it does, you tend to combine it, by the time it's in the bin, you tend to get it 10 days to a fortnight before you would as a standing crop. Last year we did it as a standing crop because the field we were in, it just didn't work to do swathing. There was obstacles and all sorts of things in it, so we just cut it direct in the end with the Lexion. Handled it very well, but we were notably at least 10 days later than we normally are. I'm normally lugging rape and the neighbours are looking at me thinking I'm really deranged. Why am I combining rape? It's not ready yet. And ours is, it's coming in at
someone's got to make
7.5%, 8%. Yeah, it's coming in 7.5%, 8%, and it's coming and it's running well. So we're going to try and swath again this year. I've got a block of 80 acres of oilseed rape, which I think will be in the background of some of the planting we did earlier. But yeah, very good way of doing it, and a very, as I say, a very scary machine to drive on the road because it's that wide to fit over the rape swath row. It doesn't actually touch the tarmac when you take it down the road. It runs on the grass verge either side, and it just does this all down the road, and it scares everybody.
Oh, no.
So I have crashed it once. The day we bought it, it was on a lorry, on a low-loader lorry, and the lorry didn't want to come up the bank. At the bottom of the bank, we've got a 1-in-4 bank, and he didn't want to drive it off the road, come up the road. So I jumped on the thing. I went to go backwards, and because it's skid steer, as it went backwards and it leant backwards, it just careered off at about 20 miles an hour, straight off the back of the lorry, bounced on the floor and landed in the ditch, to a roar of laughter to everybody else watching me.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yes, and it was a very, very scary moment.
Yeah, I should think it was.
So they had to get the load, you had to go and get the JCB and get me back out the ditch again. Touch wood, I think that's the only, where if I can find some wood somewhere in my head, yeah. That's the only scary one I've had with one of those. But yeah, that's why I wear a seatbelt when I'm driving my tractor now. Because I've already experienced that, yeah, so, yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me come out today anyway, Rob. It's been nice to catch up with you. Hopefully come out and see you again soon before harvest.
Yeah, we'll come out again, yeah, we'll
obviously you're one of the first I ever started coming out to see when I first started the film.
Yes.
the filming,
yeah.
So yeah, I'll hopefully be back again before harvest and maybe catch up with you when you're silaging or something.
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant.
All right, well, cheers for that, Rob.
No worries, Tom.